How are you? I wanted to speak a little bit on legalism and Phariseeism. I do believe there is a deception going on in the church today where people believe that obeying the commands and the law of God is somehow legalism. And I think it just comes from a misunderstanding, as well as a serious deception that's going on in which people are purposely trying to deceive others and not keeping the law because it's something in it for them. So I found this little post the other day, and it basically talks about the law, and I'll read down the scriptures that pertain to it. So the first one goes, the law is healing. That's Deuteronomy 7:16, Exodus 15:26. And don't get fearful because not all of these are from the Old Testament. The law is prosperity, Deuteronomy 28:8. The law is wisdom, Psalms 19:7. The law is perfect, Psalm 19:7. The law is right, Psalm 19:8. The law is radiant, Psalm 19:8. The law is truth, Psalm 19:9 and 119:42 and 151. The law is right and righteous, Psalm 19:8 through 9. The law is pure, Psalm 19:9. The law endures forever, Psalm 19:9. The law is firm, Psalm 19:9. The law is more precious than gold, Psalm 19:10. The law is sweeter than honey, Psalm 19:10. The law is a warning, Psalm 19:11. The law is a rewarder, Psalm 19:11. The law is a discerner, Psalm 19:12. The law is a keeper, Psalm 19:11 through 13. The law is protection, Psalm 91:4 and Psalm 119:165. The law is freedom, Psalm 119:45 and James 1:25. The law gives peace, Psalm 119:165. The law is holy, Romans 7:12. The law is good, Romans 7:12. The law is just, Romans 7:12. The law is spiritual, Romans 7:14. The law is pure, Psalm 19:8. The law gives understanding, Psalm 119:169. The law is knowledge, Hosea 4:6. The law is love, Matthew 22:38 through 40. So, to me, none of those really sound bad. I think what has happened is people don't have this understanding that sometimes Paul is talking about the law of sin and death, and sometimes he's talking about the law of God. Sometimes he's talking about the law of Moses, which is really a bunch of laws given to Moses by God. So they're still God's law, but I think just for understanding purposes, people sometimes call it the law of Moses. So in my opinion, the law was given to basically heal the Israelites. When you're coming out of slavery, it's good to have some kind of rules that will keep you organized. And what better to get those rules from the Lord because he knows what to do to keep us organized, and he knows what to do to heal us. So in that case, it's not that the law is bad, but what ended up happening was people started looking to the law to heal them rather than the Lord. So the first thing that the Israelites had to do was first come out of Egypt. That was something they had to have faith in the Lord to lead them out in the first place. So the first thing is faith. And then after a while, the law comes to them and they have to follow it. So it's not that faith nullifies the law or that the law nullifies faith. They both go hand in hand, and they both are a good way to stay in line with the Lord. But what happens when you are not in line with the Lord, you are not in line with the law, and that also means to be under the law. To be under the law is not a good place to be. At the same time, the law is still there to show you what is good and what is not good, because the law does say, do not murder. You might feel in your system you want to murder people, but you still shouldn't murder people because the law says you shouldn't, and you're going to get in trouble. When you have that faith in the Lord and you walk in Him and you have His Spirit, you no longer feel like you want to murder. But until then, it's probably wise not to do it anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and read Luke 11, starting at verse 37. When Yeshua was speaking, a Pharisee asked him to dine with him, so he went in and reclined at the table. So a lot of people have this understanding that the Pharisees were just people that Yeshua hated, that he just wanted to do away with them. And, you say God is love, but then you're saying this, that the Lord just wanted to kill them and didn't like them and that kind of thing. But the Lord went to be with the Pharisees, and some of them turned, including Paul, to his way. So when it says here that the Pharisee asked him to dine with them, it's a possibility that he was trying to seek the Lord. The Pharisee was astonished to see that he did not first wash his hands before dinner. So in the Old Testament, I'm pretty sure that it does say something about hand washing. I'll have to look it up really quickly. And what happens a lot of the times is we get this understanding, and when we see someone transgress that understanding, then we're confused about it. So a lot of people have this understanding of God is 3 in 1, like the Trinity thing, but at the end of the day, that's not actually true. God is one. He's always said He was one, and what people have done is they have taken their scriptures and added their own understanding to it, as well, have pulled from pagan teachings, and now think that God is 3 gods when that's not the case. So So, Psalm 26:6, I wash my hands in innocence and go around your altar, O Lord. So, the law of God it's not only physical, it's also spiritual. To wash your hands in innocence doesn't literally mean you got some bath or some soap from Bath and Body Works called Innocence and you start washing your hands in it. It means you start cleaning yourself with innocence. Your hands, they do works and that kind of thing. And so you want to clean your hands, make them clean from any filthy works type deal. So the Pharisees, I'm sure they believed we have to wash our hands before we eat. And I think this also goes along with Peter, where he says, Lord, I can't partake in you unless I wash my hands. And then the Lord's like, well, no, I'm the one that has to clean you. So sometimes we think that we have to clean ourselves before we come to the Lord, and that's not true. He's the one that cleans us up and makes us right. And I even think they got that from the Old Testament as well, because I think the priest couldn't enter into the altar without being clean or something like that. So I'll continue. And the Lord said to him, now you Pharisees, cleanse the outside of the cup and of the dish, but inside you are full of greed and wickedness. You fools, did not He who made the outside make the inside also? But give as alms those things that are within, and behold, everything is clean for you. So a big thing that was going on with the Pharisees is that I think they're kind of like the modern day pastors who, they preach the word and all this motivational speaking, But it's only to get things that they want. Like, they don't actually really care about other people. They're like, well, I know how to make something sound godly to get what I want. And they just end up being unclean on the inside. And sometimes they might even think they're clean just because they preach the word of God when it's not true. So basically, we have to clean the inside. That's the most important part, and not worry too much about the outside. It says something similar in Matthew 23. Don't worry about the gold on the temple, but worry about that which sanctifies the temple. But give as alms as those things are within, and behold, everything is clean for you. But woe to you, Pharisees, for you tithe mint and rue and every herb, and neglect justice and the love of God. Yeah, so sometimes we can be very works-oriented, but it's coming from a place of, look at these good things I'm doing, or it's coming from a place where, well, I help people, I deserve to be put in a high place. But inside, they don't really have justice. They don't really love God. They're not merciful. A lot of times they're doing things just for the appearance of it. Woe to you, Pharisees! You love the best seat in the synagogues and greetings in the marketplace. Woe to you, for you are like unmarked graves, and people walk over them without knowing it. Yeah, so when we have that kind of attitude where we don't actually have mercy, we don't have justice, we end up falling away from God, and that's a good way to go down to Sheol. One of the lawyers asked him, Teacher, in saying these things you insult us also. And he said, Woe to you, lawyers also, for you load people with burdens hard to bear, and you yourselves do not touch the burdens with one of your fingers. So what I've noticed a lot of times in the Christian church, when I tell people, if you love him, keep his commands, I'm quickly called a Pharisee. Even though it's written, if you love him, keep his commands. And, the first thing they'll do is they won't accept that they need to do that. But what they'll do is they'll turn it around on you and tell you all the things that you're doing wrong and that you're a sinner just like me. And it sounds like the exact same thing. Well, this is what you do. And if this is how you're supposed to do it, then you shouldn't do it to me. And, I think it ends up in a spot where nothing's really getting done, because at the end of the day, we have to take responsibility for the things that we're doing. And the Lord does send people sometimes to correct us, so it's good to welcome those people. And he said, Woe to you, lawyers also, for you load people with burdens hard to bear, and you yourself do not touch the burdens with one of your fingers. So another thing the Pharisees were doing were they were also teaching people from the Talmud all these different commands and traditions that were added to the Word of God. And from that, I believe that's part of the reason why they didn't follow the commands. Because maybe what it was is they did become very haughty in their knowledge of God, and so they thought they could add to those things. And so, simultaneously, they weren't doing everything, their traditions, and they also weren't doing all the traditions of God. But since they knew the Word of God, they were telling people, hey, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing this. It's a lot like the Catholic Church, where they're telling everybody what they need to be doing, and they're simultaneously molesting kids. So, woe to you, lawyers also, for you load people with burdens. Oh, I already did that. Woe to you, for you build the tombs of the prophets whom your father killed. So you are witnesses, and you consent to the deeds of your fathers, for they killed them, and you build their tombs. Therefore also the wisdom of God said, I will send them prophets and apostles, some of whom they will kill and persecute, so that the blood of all the prophets shed from the foundation of the world, may be charged against this generation, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah, who perished between the altar and the sanctuary. Yes, I tell you, it will be required of the generation. Woe to you, lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge. You did not enter yourselves, and you are hindering those who were entering, which is really sad. So, yeah, a lot of people do kill prophets. They kill people that are sent to redeem, or not redeem, but to restore the brethren. Just the enemy in them, I guess, and for that reason, you take away the key of knowledge, especially as a teacher who's rejecting prophets, and through that rejection you don't receive knowledge, and therefore you cannot give it out as well. And they're not there to help people either, and so those people don't receive the knowledge. And you'll have a lot of people who they don't want to follow the law of the Lord, and so they end up giving their own opinion on things, and for that reason people are hindered from entering, and it's really quite sad to see that. 53, as he went away from there, the scribes and Pharisees began to press him hard and provoke him to speak about many things, lying in wait for him to catch him in something that he might say. So yeah, I mean, a lot of times when we feel caught in something, we will try to catch other people in something, because we don't want to feel that guilt. We don't want to feel like we're the only ones that are doing things that we're not supposed to be doing. But again, it doesn't get anything accomplished. Both sides, if there is an issue on both sides, they both need to take responsibility for the things that they're doing wrong, because the Lord is still watching everything, and at the end of the day, we will be held accountable for those things. So yeah, I think a lot of people have the understanding of the Pharisees incorrect. I know that the Lord did come back to the Pharisees after, because Peter had asked, Lord, didn't we already go to the Pharisees? And then the Lord said, well, there's 12 hours in a day, because his plan is to redeem everyone, even the Pharisees. So we need to learn to love even those people who we think are operating in legalism, and if maybe even learn more about what legalism is, so that we're not just throwing that term out everywhere, and accusing people of it, because that really is a righteous mindset as well. You're a legalist, you're a Pharisee, and you're closing, and you're doing this, and you're doing that. Okay, I understand. You have your understanding of what the scriptures are, what you've been told in church, and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, you have to be like the Lord and try to restore that person to the truth. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hopefully this shed a little bit of light on Pharisees. I'm hoping to do more of an in-depth one, and we'll see what happens there. So have a good one, guys. Bye.